When my son Samuel passed away, it felt like the ground had been ripped out from beneath me. He wasn't just my only child, he was my purpose, my reason to keep going after my husband died years earlier. Samuel had a kind heart, the kind that always put others before himself. That's why it was such a cruel twist of fate when illness stole him far too young at the funeral. I stood like a shadow, numb with grief. Beside me, his wife Sophia looked immaculate in black, her eyes dry, her face expressionless. People whispered that everyone grieves differently, but something in me sensed hers wasn't grief at all, it was calculation for days after. I stayed in the home Samuel had bought, the home where every wall still carried his laughter. I thought Sophia and I would find comfort in each other. After all, we were the two people who had loved him most. Surely, in our grief, we could lean on one another, but I was wrong. One rainy afternoon, I returned from the cemetery with flowers in hand. I walked up to the porch and froze. My suitcase sat there, clothes spilling out, shoes tossed like garbage. Sophia stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her mouth twisted in disdain. "You need to leave," she said. Her voice as cold as the wind whipping around us. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "This is Samuel's home." "My home." "Where else am I supposed to go?" Her lips curled into a cruel smile. "Samuel is gone. I'm his wife. That makes this my house. You're not welcome here anymore." I felt my legs tremble, my hands gripping the flowers until the stems broke. "Sophia, please. I've lost my son." "Don't do this to me." She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper sharp enough to cut. "You were always in the way. Samuel spoiled you, and now it's time for you to face reality. Pack what little you have left. This chapter of your life is over." Before I could speak again, she slammed the door in my face. The thud echoed in my chest like a final goodbye. Neighbors watched from across the street as I dragged my suitcase down the sidewalk, humiliation burning hotter than the tears streaming down my cheeks. I ended up in a cheap motel that night, the air stale, the mattress sagging beneath me, alone, cast aside like I was nothing. But as I lay awake in that hollow room, one thought kept circling in my mind. Samuel would never have wanted this for me. And deep down, I knew the truth would come out because Samuel was a man who believed in justice. What I didn't know yet was that justice was already waiting for me, tucked away in the sealed envelope of his will. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I wandered through the small motel room like a ghost, clutching Samuel's photograph and asking myself over and over, how could Sophia be so cruel? I expected at least some compassion. After all, I had raised Samuel into the man she married. But Sophia had made her intentions brutally clear. She wanted me erased, as if I had never existed in his life. One morning, just as the weight of despair began to crush me completely, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something inside told me to pick up. "Hello?" My voice cracked. Double quotes, "Mrs. Harris?" A calm male voice asked. "This is Mr. Turner, your son Samuel's lawyer. We've scheduled the will reading for next week. It's very important that you attend." My heart skipped. "The will? Samuel left one?" "Yes, and based on what I've seen, you should be there." He paused, his tone firm, almost warning. "Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." My fingers trembled as I clutched the phone tighter. For the first time in weeks, a spark of hope flickered inside me. But when I arrived at the law office the following week, that hope was nearly extinguished again. Sophia was already there, sitting smugly at the conference table. She wore an expensive dress, her makeup flawless, as if she were attending a gala instead of hearing her late husband's last words. She looked me up and down with open disdain. "I don't even know why you're here," she sneered. "This is between Samuel and me. You're nothing but a guest at this point." I bit my tongue, refusing to rise to her provocation. Mr. Turner entered the room, his briefcase in hand, and immediately the air shifted. He greeted us both politely, then began laying out the documents on the table. Sophia leaned forward, eager, practically licking her lips in anticipation. "Let's get on with it," she said sharply. Samuel wanted me taken care of. That's what matters. But I noticed something, a small smile tugged at the corners of Mr. Turner's lips as he opened the will. He adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. Samuel was a thoughtful man. He made his wishes very clear. He looked directly at me before continuing. And I think we'll all find his instructions. Surprising, Sophia's smugness wavered for the first time. She glanced at me, suspicion clouding her eyes. In that moment, I sat straighter, my palms pressed to my knees. For weeks I had been treated like a burden, discarded by the very person who should have shown me kindness. But something told me Samuel hadn't forgotten me, and soon Sophia would learn that her cruelty came at a cost. Mr. Turner's voice filled the room as he began reading Samuel's will. My heart pounded with every word. To my beloved wife, Sophia? He started. Sophia straightened in her chair, her smug smile returning. I leave my personal jewelry collection, our shared car, and a financial allowance sufficient to maintain her lifestyle for 1 year. Sophia blinked. The smile on her face faltered just slightly. I could see the confusion flicker in her eyes, but then Mr. Turner cleared his throat and continued, his gaze shifting toward me. To my mother, Margaret Harris. I leave the family home, the savings accounts, and the majority of my estate. My mother has always been my rock, my guiding light. She stood by me when no one else did, and I want her to live in comfort, dignity, and security for the rest of her life. The room fell silent. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Did I hear that right? Samuel had left the house, our house, to me. Sophia's face turned pale, then flushed crimson. She slammed her hand on the table. This has to be a mistake. She shouted. The house was ours, mine, and Samuel's. He would never cut me out like this. Mr. Turner remained calm. There is no mistake, Mrs. Harris. Samuel signed this document in my presence and with full legal witness. His wishes are final. Sophia's eyes darted toward me, filled with venom. You manipulated him, didn't you? This is all you're doing. I finally spoke, my voice quiet but firm. No, Sophia. Samuel made his own decisions. You treated me like I was disposable, but Samuel never forgot who stood by him all his life. This is his voice, speaking even after he's gone. Sophia pushed back her chair violently, nearly knocking it over. This isn't fair. I gave him everything, and you were just a burden. Her words cut deep, but they didn't break me. Because in that moment, I felt Samuel's presence. His love, his loyalty. Mr. Turner folded the will and placed it back into his briefcase. I suggest you both take some time to process this. But legally, the estate is very clear. The home belongs to Mrs. Harris. As we walked out of the office, Sophia's rage boiled over. She turned to me, her voice low and threatening. You think you've won? This isn't over. I met her glare steadily. No, Sophia. It is over. You took my kindness for weakness. But Samuel made sure I'd never be at your mercy again. For the first time since Samuel's death, I felt strong. The days that followed the will reading were anything but peaceful. I moved back into the house cautiously, carrying Samuel's words like a shield around my heart. His decision had given me security, but Sophia's threats still lingered in my mind. It didn't take long before she made her move. One morning, I opened the mailbox to find an official-looking envelope. My stomach tightened as I tore it open. Inside was a letter from Sophia's lawyer claiming that she was contesting the will. According to her, Samuel had been mentally unfit. When he signed the documents, I sat at the kitchen table, the letter trembling in my hands. Mentally unfit? I whispered to myself. Samuel had been sharp, thoughtful, and painfully aware of his choices until his very last day. I called Mr. Turner immediately. He sighed, clearly unsurprised. Margaret, don't worry. This is a common tactic when someone doesn't like the outcome of a will. But Samuel's medical records and the witnesses to his signing will crush her claims. You have nothing to fear. Still, the pressure weighed on me. Sophia didn't just want to fight in court, she wanted to break me emotionally. She began spreading whispers in the neighborhood, telling anyone who would listen that I turned her husband against her. At the grocery store, people I'd known for years avoided my gaze. One evening, I heard a car screech to a halt outside the house. I peeked through the curtain and saw Sophia storming toward the front door. Her fists pounded against it with furious intensity. "Open this door, Margaret!" She screamed. "This house is mine. You're nothing but a thief hiding behind a piece of paper." My heart pounded, but I didn't move. I let her rage echo through the night until finally she left, her threats carried away by the wind. Later, I sat alone in Samuel's old study, surrounded by his books and photographs. My eyes landed on a picture of him as a boy, grinning at me with that same mischievous smile he carried into adulthood. I touched the frame gently and whispered, "I won't let her destroy what you left me, Samuel. I'll fight with everything I have." The truth was clear. Sophia wasn't grieving. She was obsessed with money, with control, with the illusion of power. She didn't just want the house. She wanted to erase me, to rewrite Samuel's final words, but she underestimated me. I had weathered storms before, and this time, I had Samuel's last gift, the will, to guide me through. What Sophia didn't know was that Samuel had left behind more than just property. He had left letters, words that would soon unravel her lies in ways she never imagined. The court battle began a month later. Sophia strutted into the courtroom with her lawyer at her side, her expression smug, as though victory were already hers. I sat quietly at my table, clutching the small leather folder Mr. Turner had given me just that morning. Inside, it were Samuel's handwritten letters, his final words to both of us. The judge called for opening arguments, and Sophia's lawyer wasted no time painting me as a manipulative old woman who had coerced my son into leaving me everything. He spoke of fragile mental states and undue influence, his voice dripping with false sympathy. When it was our turn, Mr. Turner stood with calm authority. "Your Honor, before we proceed further, I'd like to submit into evidence several letters written in Samuel Harris's own hand, dated just days before his passing." The judge nodded, and Turner handed the papers to the clerk. I watched Sophia's confident expression falter as the first letter was read aloud. "To my mother, if you're reading this, I want you to know how much I love you. You've stood by me in ways Sophia never could understand. She has grown distant, consumed by her own interests, and I can no longer pretend that her love for me is genuine. I leave you the home because I know you'll cherish it, because it holds the only memories that matter." Sophia's face drained of color. Clerk continued with another letter. "To Sophia, I tried to believe in us. I tried to ignore the way you spoke to my mother, the way you rolled your eyes when she entered the room, the way you treated her like she was less than nothing. But I couldn't. You pushed away the one person who has always stood by me. That choice is yours." "My choice is this will." Gasps filled the courtroom. Sophia's lawyer shifted uncomfortably, but there was nothing he could say. Samuel's own words had painted the truth clearer than any argument ever could. The judge glanced at Sophia, his expression stern. "The evidence is undeniable. The will stands." "This case is dismissed," Sophia erupted, her voice shrill. "No, this isn't fair. That old woman doesn't deserve a thing." I stood slowly, meeting her glare with a calmness I didn't know I possessed. "I didn't take anything from you, Sophia. Samuel simply gave me what was always mine, his love, his trust, his gratitude. You threw that away all on your own." The bailiff escorted her out as she cursed under her breath, her rage echoing down the corridor. When the courtroom emptied, I stepped outside into the sunlight. For the first time since Samuel's death, I didn't feel weighed down by grief or fear. I felt free. That evening, I walked through the house, my house touching the walls, the pictures, the memories Samuel and I had built. I whispered into the quiet rooms, "Thank you, my son. You gave me more than a home. You gave me justice." And as the golden light of sunset spilled through the windows, I realized Samuel had given me something else too. A reminder that love, real love, cannot be stolen, silenced, or thrown out. It lives on, even after goodbye.